Hi.
Hi, this is HJKD0DTS, and the man in front of me is Kevin Borders, KD0RDU. And he is actually going to help me talk about the Hex Beam. Look at that thing. It's what you get when you open the box. So we're going to go over a quick parts list, because right after we go through the parts list, we are going to actually set it up. So Kevin, are you ready to tell people what we have?
We are ready.
Good, good, good. Okay, so when you first unbox it, what you're probably going to end up with legs. This will all actually be in a bundle, but let's start with the smallest. What is that, Kevin?
This is the end section. This is meant for the 20 meter and the 40 meter. This goes on the very end. This also holds your cat paws, which have all your top ropes, all pre-attached, pre-tied, pre-measured, and pre-hooked.
Okay, so we do all that for you, huh?
Yep, absolutely.
Now, what about this rope here? How does that come undone? I'm sure you're going to show us later. But
Oh, it's really easy. It's just taped on right there, and it just simply unspools, and it straightens right out. Once you're on the end of the leg, all you got to do is run it to the U-bolt.
Perfect.
And you're done.
And then what's the next section we got here?
That's this. This is going to be the second to last section. This holds our 17 meter portion. If you do get the broadband section, that would be on here as well.
Okay. And then the middle section, I'm assuming, right?
Middle section, yep. This holds 15, 12, and 10.
Oh, look how big those are. That's
Yep.
pretty awesome.
And yeah, all pre-attached.
And they're all measured, right?
All measured out for you, all pre-done.
Who does that?
I do.
Okay, what do we have here? Our last
And then
leg.
this is your base legs. These actually go on first. We did this backwards a little bit, but it's okay. But yeah, these are your base legs. These hold the 6 meter. The thing you'll see different with these is they got the bolt holes in there already. So again, no drilling, nothing you got to do. Just line it up, put the bolts in, and they're ready to go.
Okay, now real quick before we go to the next section here, which is going to be the centerpiece, has the it's the center of the actual Hex Beam, and it has our bus here, our bus system. And another thing to mention, that is actually the 40 meter section. So this is a 40 through 6 meter antenna, directional beam Sentinel. So Kevin, what is that crazy stuff, and why isn't it painted?
Well, it's not painted yet, just because we want to show off everything that we got going on here, so you can kind of see it a little bit more. But yeah, like you said, this is the balun. This is solely for 40, so it takes its own feed line. Everything else is done on this bus system here. This is what we're referring to when we talk about our bus system. And this is for 20 through 6. 20 goes to the top and it just goes down. 17, 15, 12, 10, and 6, all right in order. And your connector is right here at the top. And yeah. Alright, so right here at the top of our bus system we have our SL239 connector that we mounted right here at the top. That's where your connection goes. We also have included all the hardware to mount the original fiberglass poles. It's all grade 8 steel. All of your hardware is included, washers, nuts, bolts, and everything. Real easy, real simple. This is our hub. As you can see, we got a little notch here. When it's painted, it'll be etched in so you can still see it. So not a big deal there. What you want to do with this is line it up with the bus. So the notch goes on this side right here.
So what corresponds with that? Is there like a bolt?
There's the bolts right here.
There it is, yeah.
So you have 3 bolts here. It'll line exactly up with one of them. So if you can't find the notch, look for the bolts. It'll only be on one of the 3.
And these are all tapped, by the way. So every single one of these are tapped all the way through. So it is threaded. So be ginger.
Exactly.
All right, what next? What else we got, Kevin? We got wires.
Oh, we got lots of wires here.
Now these look interesting. What's going on with this? Like I got the copper there and the rope.
Oh yeah.
Explain that to me.
So, keeping with the theme of doing as much as we can for you, we've done the same with our wires. So here I'll grab one individual element. This appears to be our 6 meter. If you notice, yeah, all the ropes and wires are all pre-attached. Everything's pre-measured, even pre-stripped. All you gotta do is just yank that little jacket off, wrap it around the post, and you're ready to go. So all you gotta do is start on one side, run the wire, land on the other side.
So you're saying the reflector and director are already connected for you?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So 2 directors right here, you can see them. They're just taped together, that's all. And then there's your reflector right in the middle. No measuring, no cutting required.
Perfect. Okay, and then what are these bad boys?
So these are a little bit more going on, but this is how we accomplish 40. This is a shortened 40. So instead of using coils like we've done and other companies done in the past, we've actually opted for what we call our linear loads, and you'll be able to see those a little better later. once they're all stretched out. But this is exactly what these are. I've labeled them D1, D2. These are your drivers. So these are your individual driven elements for the 40. And then here's your reflectors. So these do come pre-separate. They're a little different, but it's okay. We'll go over that later. But again, everything's pre-measured, pre-cut, pre-stripped where it needs to be. So again, as little work on your end as possible.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I guess there's nothing left but to assemble it. We're back, and we went over the parts list, and we are actually in my backyard. Yes, classy. To actually set this up today. So what are we building again, Kevin?
This is our Hex Beam, 20/6 plus 40 short.
And then of course Emmett, W0QH is here to help us. Quick question, how big is this?
This will be approximately 22 feet side to side with, actually it's more of like a 12-foot turning radius.
Perfect. All right, so we have everything set up here, and we would suggest if you are ready to set up your Hex Beam, you do the same. All right, and one thing we wanted to talk about, for our assembly, we've established and actually made this crazy looking thing. It's basically just ENT on some wood with a 1-inch receiver right down there on the threaded part. See, it's threaded. And it makes a real nice place to just start setting up. All right, we're gonna get set up. Okay, as you can see here, we got all the pieces to get us started. We're using our nice little nifty setup here with the thing on the, we got a log on there just to act as a table and or weight. Because once we start getting this thing set up, that's what we're doing. Emmett, what are you doing before you start doing it without explaining?
I'm basically, one of the first things we do is we'll put the hub on to the center support. Now, normally under most conditions, you're going to have what's called a there'll be a metal tube that goes inside of here, 1 1/4 inch or whatever you're using to support the antenna from your.
Now you're actually using a different method in which I do. I actually use a light or a flashlight. I remove that bolt right there. Right there. I remove that bolt and I shine a light down the tube here to get my first one lined up, because remember, it is threaded.
Yes. Now, one thing you need to know too, when you're putting this all together, when it's all assembled and everything, and you put it up on the tower, you're going to need to drill the same 3 holes in your pipe, so that way it secures the whole antenna to the pipe.
That pipe is also what we commonly refer to as the tailpiece.
Yes.
How long does that need to be usually?
3 feet. You need enough room to get into the
It's going to go
system
all the way up to this point. Go ahead.
I was going to say you need enough room to go into the bus system and into your rotor. So it needs to be at least that long, but no longer than 3 feet is necessary.
Okay, we're secure.
There?
So you're just going back and forth then, Kev?
Yeah, I'm just making sure it's not going inside the tube, because we still need to be able to set it on the piece there that we have on the ground. But I'm making sure that all my threads are lined up nice and proper. So I'm going real slow, not a lot of torque on the drill, just making sure everything's lined up and then just backing it out just a little bit. Alrighty, so now that we got those in, we're just going to tighten it down to our piece here, just so it doesn't go anywhere. Going a little at a time on each side. You want to try to go even as you can, otherwise you're going to end up tilted. There. Now it's not going anywhere. Now we can put it together.
We should have put our kilts on today.
Alright, so we are ready to put the legs on. I've already got a couple bolts in my hand. We're just going to undo these. Again, going back to the grade 8 steel that we use here. Real simple to get these together. You got some hardware on here already. Actually, I ended up with it backwards a little bit, but that's okay. You want your lock at the top, followed by your flats. And I dropped the nut. It's quite okay. Alright.
It's grade 8 steel, so you know.
Yeah, it'll be safe. It'll be fine. So once we're ready.
Okay, now this fiberglass is made out of solid fiberglass. It's not a fiberglass tube. It has a 6 mil UV coating on it to help prevent you know, the sun breaking down the fiberglass. You can paint it as well if you like. As a matter of fact, we recommend that at the, you know, when it's all over and done with, go ahead and shoot it with some clear paint or clear enamel or whatever, just to, you know, cover it all up. And the other thing that you need to nice little note is these specifically manufactured cable, or the supports for the wire, is also UV coated and protected, and so on.
All right, let's get this slap together.
All right, real simple. You get 2 flat washers, a lock, and a nut. You're gonna start with 1 flat washer that goes through the top, holds it like that, and it goes through. And then you just apply your other hardware to the bottom. Gravity's gonna work against you here, but it's okay. If you got 2 hands, you'll be good.
Now, one thing on the lock washer that's down below here, you're only going to tighten it up until that lock washer is compressed. You don't need to go any farther than that.
Exactly.
Now, does this need 2 people to be put together, or can one person do this?
Look what I did, Kevin.
I see it.
Typically, we would suggest that 2 people do it, but 1 person can do it.
Okay. And what is that, 1/4 inch hardware?
Yes, 1/4 inch hardware. Number 8.
And you don't have to use power tweezers, you can use hand tools, correct?
Yes, 7/16 inch per inch. That's all you need.
Looks hearty, like a stew.
Yes, tasty.
Ham stew. I guess.
And you'll notice the lock washers at the on the top here.
Yeah, I switched it up for
Yeah.
the lock washer to be at the
That
top.
way,
That's better.
that way you'll be able to see when it compresses.
Probably just cut that last thing out.
We'll correct it in post.
That's why we have an editor.
Post, yep. Alright, so once again,
And so each get 2, correct?
yeah, so each one will get 2 bolts. Yeah, we'll go with the lock, followed by the flat. That goes in through the top, other flat on bottom, and then the nut.
See how nice and easy that goes in? It's amazing the level of precision machinery we have to utilize to make everything fit like that.
And then you can tighten it up. Again, very important, don't over torque. There's nothing on here that needs to be tightened down that much. Like Emmett, our engineer, said, you're just looking for a compression with the lock washers. That's it. After that, stop.
All right, so we got the last leg up, Kevin. So is it all done now, or is this a Hex
Nice and
Beam?
solid.
Is this Hex Beam?
We're not even 1/6 of the way, 1/36 of the way, but
One thing to remember too is to make sure that this component is facing up. Otherwise, you'll have to take it all off and put it back and put it back on again.
So that would be up.
And
That is up.
The nice now all you got to do is repeat this 6 more times, and we'll be right back after we get done putting the rest of them on. Okay, there we go.
All right, looks like you guys are on your way. Hex Beam Town.
heck yeah.
That does look really good. Now, just a quick reminder, we are going to have this all painted by the end of the day. Actually, it's going to be shipped out today to a customer. So the lucky customer will actually get a free trim job. We'll go over trimming after it's all finished up. So this will actually be colored green, the main portion. So the center post here will be green, that ballon will be green, and the hub will be green. The rest is going to be left white. You can paint it if you like. We don't do that. We don't have a hood system. So what are we doing next, guys?
This section is next. We covered it in our parts list. This is our legs that contain the 10, 12, and 15 meter standoffs. And we're going to do these next. You want to do everything one section at a time. You don't want to try to build one leg out too much.
Okay, and then go ahead and show me how do you connect that to that? Is there like screws involved,
Oh.
pins?
You're going to like these. We had to use the bolts for the last one, right? But for this one, we made things much simpler.
I like simple.
So, real simple collar, just slides right on. If you can see that it's hollow on the inside. Again, we're using the aircraft aluminum, and
Precision turn.
and literally it just slides on.
Oh, just like an old what's it, tent.
Yeah, tent pole, just like a tent pole.
And is that going to be strong enough to hold up? I mean, how is it not going to just slide right out?
The last leg that we apply is going to have tension rope, so that's what he's unwrapping right now. and those tension ropes keep everything in place.
That's pretty cool.
Okay, we're all finished up with the second section, and now we're moving on to the third section, which contains, in this case, our 17 meter.
Now let's go ahead and move on to the next section. I'll give you the 3 that you need.
So this is the 17. So this is a very sad looking hex beam, guys. I'm not gonna lie.
It's weeping.
It looks very sad, Kevin. What'd you do?
Oh, you know.
Start putting this all together. What we're going to do is we're going to do opposite sides now when we tighten things up. So that way you're not putting everything on one side, so it'll cause everything to lean over and bend and contort. Because this is built kind of like a truss system, so that literally everything, every line, every angle supports the other item in the whole setup.
Okay.
Okay, as you can see, I've basically unturned everything. There's this thing we call a cat's paw right there. And this is the 20 meter element, and this is the 40 meter element.
And that's all the string.
Yep. And then I just slide this on, just like that. Take the string, come all the way to the U-bolt. And Kevin's going to do the same on the opposite side.
You'll notice it looks like it's short. It's okay. That's what we want.
We
Pull
want
it
tension.
in and bend it.
We want a small amount of tension.
Happy Hex Beam.
Hex Beam.
Oh, you guys have terrible timing.
Yeah.
All right, so explain to us what happened.
Oh, real simple. So we attached the last leg, and as Emmett said, we did opposite ends. As I attached the leg, I just ran the rope all the way to the center, to the U-bolt. We did 3 S-hooks on one side, 3 on the other to keep it nice and balanced.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, that looks like a power source from India.
No power going through here. This is all just support and insulated, by all means.
All right, so what's the next step?
Next step is wires. That's where we're gonna go from here. Real easy, real simple, and we'll get right to it. Okay, so we are ready to put the wires on. First thing you need to do is make sure you establish your front facing. So, real easy way to do that, find your bus. It falls in between 2 legs. This is your front facing.
Big open spaces.
Big open space. And we're gonna start right here. So all we gotta do is we get to our 6 meter, you see that I kinda got it pre-stripped for you. Go ahead and finish that off. Give it a nice twist. Now if you want, you can solder to the tip. That's advisable. That can be a good thing. Yeah, it keeps it from fraying. Don't solder the whole thing because it's going to be really hard to actually get around the terminal. I suggest against lugs because lugs fail. This will hold up longer if you do it this way. So we're just going to start right here. Just loosen your hardware up a little bit. Get in between your 2 flat washers. And you want to wrap it clockwise so as you tighten everything down, it stays with it. And I'm just tightening it by hand by now. We'll go back later with a wrench and get it in. But for now, that'll hold. We run out to our first hook here.
Show us how that's done.
What's really cool about these is they just drop right in. So there's no need to go through anything. You don't have to have anything tight fittings or anything like that. It literally just drops right in. And because of the design, there's no wind that's going to knock this out. The tension's going to keep it in place.
Okay.
So from there, once everything's in, it's not going anywhere. It's absolutely secure.
A unique thing about setting up the wires for the Hex Beam is that these do not have to be tight. Matter of fact, we want a little bit of sag in there so they can basically deal with the wind. It's almost like, think about a reed of grass. If it was too rigid, the wind would break it. So in this case, what we're doing is we're putting this in so that way the wind doesn't break it. There you go, Kevin.
Alright, so then we're on the last one. And again, we have this open spacing, so we need to make sure, we come back in. So I like to call this leg 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we come back in on leg 6. Alright, I looped it all the way around, and now we're ready to just attach on that side.
Underneath the washer. Is that the lock washer?
And then again, I want to go in between the washers. And my fingers are failing me right now, pay no mind to that, but it's okay. There we go. And again, you want to wrap the wire clockwise, so as you tighten, it tightens down more. Again, we'll come back with a tool to tighten those down permanently, but that's how it goes.
All right, so basically,
so you got some slack.
Got some nice slack there, and then as you can see, this is the director right here, and then the reflector back there, and that is separated by this cool beaded necklace. So it's not really a good necklace, it's kind of funny. There you go. All right, so now we're gonna go all the way to 17 and just rinse and repeat, do the exact same thing over and over again. So one thing I want to point out is you see that kind of like the bend away from the middle. That's okay. That's all going to be taken care of when we get the rest of these elements on, and the ropes, the support ropes, are going to tighten everything up. As you can see, I cannot walk any farther because there's wires. But if I go to the center, I'm trying to reiterate this, but if I go to the center, there's absolutely nothing here. And eventually there will be support ropes. Sorry, Kevin, we get in your way. But this is the open part. This is your driven area right here. So keep that in mind.
Alright, so we are all done with the 17 meters. We got 17, 15, 12, 10, and 6 so far. We're about to move on to 20. Stay tuned.
Okay, so the one thing I wanted to point out that I thought was pretty important is you can see the ropes all line up, generally speaking, where they connect the reflector and director. So they kind of, this is what it should look like, just all in a straight line. You don't want one to be like all the way over here, and because that means there's something wrong. So that's something to keep in mind.
Alright, as you can see, I'm getting ready to finish up the 20 right now. Just going to go ahead and attach that. Right here, sticking with the clockwise turns. And of course, with the camera on me, my fingers are failing. Alright, there we go. Nice and hand tightened for right now. Now, you'll probably notice that you might have a little bit of droop. That's quite okay. We're going to do some tension ropes, and this is what exactly what our tension ropes are for. So Emmett's going to show you how to take care of those.
Basically, you're just going to be running a couple ropes from mid-center all the way out to the 20 meters. So what I'll do is I'll figure, okay, 6, 10, 12, 15. So this is where I'm going to connect my rope for the first. And you just tie a knot into it. You don't have to do anything fancy schmancy. Okay.
Better than a shoelace knot though, right?
Yeah. Because it's going to be, say, so it's 6, 10, 12, 15. Then you see this little knot. Sometimes we tie that to give you an idea how close you need to be. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tighten things up a little bit. You'll notice that everything is starting to, all the sags are starting to go away. Almost like a Christmas package. There we go. There's that. And you notice it took care of a lot of sag. Now I'm going to put this one out, I think, at the 20 meter part. There's your knot.
Beautiful handcraft rope tying.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this a couple times, and then I'm going to go ahead and tighten her up a little bit more. Get not all the sag. You want a little sag on this, but not. You don't want it.
Prison sag.
Yeah.
Was that a French bulldog knot?
Something like that. Okay, there you go.
So this is 6 through 20 with supports on 15 and 20. And that is what she looks like so far. And we are going to be moving on to what everyone hates to do, which is the 40 meter section. And I promise you we will make it show. We will show you that it is a lot easier to do than what people have told you or what you might have suspected.
Okay, we've just finished up the 20 through 6 components or elements on the Sentinel Hex Beam. Now we're going to go on and start up on the 40 meter linear loaded element. A little note about the linear loaded element. It uses, instead of using a coil, which a lot of people would do to make a shortened dipole, we're using a linear loaded element, which we'll show you a little bit later. And the linear loaded element basically works like a coil, but it's not. It gives you the length of the wire plus the sensitivity that, you know, basically outweighs the effectiveness of the coil. First thing we're going to put on is we're going to be putting on the flute, which goes on the center part of the center post. And the whole idea behind that is to keep the wires of the 40 meter element away from the 20 through, you know, from the other part of the Sentinel, because the 40 meter antenna on the Sentinel is a separate antenna system. So you'll have two sets of wires, which will be your driven element with a linear loaded element. Okay, and then the next one will be the reflector with 2 linear loaded elements and a center wire and the tensioning rope that goes with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that thing together and see how it looks.
All right, so first step, take your flute that we talked about before, little plastic piece with some holes in it, and look at that, just rests right over the U-bolt there. I like tie wraps. They're real easy, make things nice and neat, but you can use a rope or whatever. It just needs to be secure. And I'm just gonna tie that down. Can't go nowhere now. A little loose, but that's okay. And then of course, your cleanup. There we go. Step 1 done. All right, so we are ready to attach the first 40 meter driver. What I like to do after you get your wire all stretched out, untaped and everything, get all the tape off there, measure about a foot from the strip. So you got your strip right there from about there, about a foot. Then you got to be precise, but just go ahead and give yourself a little kink to mark that note. Now the 40 meter is going to run the same direction as everything else, so keep that in mind even though the ballon's on the back side. So since we need it to run that direction, we're going to start with the flute. We're feeding it backwards a little bit, but it's okay. Come out of the flute, and we got these 2 holes on the T. And what we're doing is creating a strain relief. That way nothing gets tugged on the ballon. We can come back through that other hole on this side, and look at all the extra space we got. So now we can take the strip off, just like before. Twist it up, loosen your hardware, and go ahead and get that guy on there. Tighten your hardware down, and your driver is now connected. Now all you got to do is run it. And that goes all the way down.
You didn't want me to undo this?
To the farthest leg. And you'll see I still have the tape on the linear loads. You're going to want to remember to take that tape off.
Yeah, we're not putting this into duty today, so what we're doing is we're just taking everything off. Now you'll see you've got this rope. Now Kevin generally, when he puts these together, gives you lots of extra rope to use, but in this case all we're going to do is we're going to attach it to this pole right here. Okay, all I do is I bring it over to here, wrap it around a couple times, and then just do a simple knot that you can untie because you're going to be doing some adjustments in a few minutes. So I just do that so I can just undo it real quick and easy. There you go. Now we're going to go do the other one.
All right, so as you can see, we got the first one in. Now it's time for round 2. It literally is as simple as just repeating the exact same steps. So I kink the wire at about a foot in, coming in through the back side of the T there. Watch out for your ropes. You don't want to get your ropes tangled up in your strain relief. There, 1, 2, and 3. And we will wrap right around the hardware once again. And we will be connected. Just like that. From there, run it around your perimeter because it's going to go all the way down. And as you can see, Emmett's finishing up on that side.
you just do a simple quick knot on that too, right?
Yes. Because you're going to be doing some adjustments to adjust the tension and so on. Next time you, when you start putting on the reflector and everything else. So I just do this once again. You got lots of extra rope here, so things can, you know, you have a little bit of room to play with. There we go. Okay, now remember, we take the tape off when you're done putting this up, and what will happen is this will affect how the tension goes on the wires. Okay, we're getting ready to put the reflector on. A quick note: you'll notice that there's a little bit of a bow in the fiberglass. That's okay for right now, because what you're going to be doing is when you start tightening up the reflector, this bow is going to go away. But what I'm going to first do is put the rope through, bundle it up a little bit, and throw it at Kevin. Because that's what we do at our shop. We throw things at Kevin. Or HJ when he's not looking.
Okay, and so that rope is attached to what?
That's attached to one of the wires on the reflector.
So on the reflector, okay. So what does this support do?
So what this does is this holds the entire reflector up in the air. Where a lot of confusion comes in with this reflector is it's not even physically attached, let alone electrically attached to anything. It is its own component that's going to float on the back half of the antenna. And what this rope is doing is allowing it to basically complete a loop on the back half of the antenna. We're going to take it, and this flute that we used to tie down the wires before, we can take this wire and run it straight through, and we're going to use this flute as support for this wire now.
Okay.
And it's going to go straight across.
All right, and then so I'm going to show so as you can see here, it's attached right here. Wire, 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 and rope onto an end insulator, as you can see right there. And that's going directly across the middle. So let me give you a quick tour. This is leg, what would this be, leg 2?
I like to call that one leg 2.
So this is leg 2.
1.
This is leg 1 right there. And as you can see, there's the open spot with just the wire, just the ropes. So we are literally cutting the hex beam in half with the support wire. That is something to keep in mind too, because if you start it over here and run it that way, you're gonna have a really bad time. So keep that in mind.
Okay, now we're going to walk this all the way around, and you'll notice on the end of the other side of the reflector there's a insulator. By the way, this is not just cheap plastic. This is a CPVC material that handles its working temperature is 425 degrees, so it's a pretty substantial piece of material. I get the tape off so I can basically wind the reflector. The one side note too is on this 40 meter antenna, it's not just a dipole. It is you have a driver and a reflector, so it's actually a beam, which no one else does.
Because if it was a dipole, this is a lot of time and material to just slap on the back of an antenna. Okay, and as you can see here, you have this linear loaded element, which is the reflector that's on the ground. You have the driver, which is still suspended. It is hammock-esque, but it is not going to be that way for very long. Again, we have a lot of adjustment to do. I'm going to continue following Emmett here. He went to, so if that was leg 1 where Kevin is standing, to his, yep, that's leg 1, that's leg 2, this is 3, that's 4. And as you can see here, look at the ballon. Ballon wires, not empty space where Kevin is standing. So this is the back. But this section that Emmett is putting up is the reflector. So that's something I keep bringing up a lot, but it's really important to understand what this really is as an antenna system in general. And he has come to his terminus with the reflector here. As you see, he's tying it, putting it through an insulator, and this will give it the tension that we need to keep it up on a different plane.
I also tie a little knot in here, so that way if you accidentally let go of the rope, you don't have to walk everything through again. See how that works? Now,
we've done it a couple of times.
Yeah. Now what we do is we basically start pulling on the
if you notice, as he's pulling that rope, you can see the reflector linear loads and all the wires start to rise up, and you're
Like
controlling the tension
magic.
by how tight you tie this center rope.
So you see, as Emmett is pulling it, what was once on the ground is now aloft, enjoying a nice perch on the tip of this hex beam.
Okay, so as you can see now, we just got the 40-meter reflector done. Everything's in place. The ropes are tied off. As you sure notice, Emmett already mentioned, our tape's still on there. Usually, you're going to take this tape off. We're just doing this for expediency's sake for now. We are almost done, guys. There is one step left, and that's to do our perimeter ropes. And this is going to help keep tension for the entire antenna as a whole. So we'll move on to that next. All right, guys, so we're moving on to the perimeter ropes. Very similar to what we did for 15 and 20, but we're gonna start on the cat paws now. And as you can see, they each got a nice little hole on them for one on each side, so you can do this with all your ropes. I like to start with the side with the knot, like Emmett said before. Again, it's just to give you an idea of how much rope it takes. You don't need to use that knot or anything like that. Your knots don't need to be fancy. You don't need to be a Boy Scout. Just double it up. Make sure it's not going anywhere.
You know, they say that doubling it up does not actually give you more protection.
Well, in this case, it might. We'll see. So we just take that, we run it all the way over. As you can see, I got plenty of extra rope here, so it's not a big deal. Now, the cool thing with this, what I like to do is I get all the ropes tied on there, I get the tension on, and I kind of, you know, just do a nice loose knot to start. Because what you're going to do is you're probably going to have to come back and adjust this later. Once you get all 6 on, go ahead and give everything a look, make sure everything's lining up real nice, and then you can use these ropes, undo one, and if you need to, you can tighten it up to get everything to line up right.
And that is to correct what, Kevin?
If you do somehow end up with like an S, you know, like if your legs are snaking or something a little bit, if you notice ours aren't, because we've done this a few times now, but if yours does, that's all you got to do is just use these ropes to pull it back the other way. And then you can come back to the other side and pull it the other way, and just, it's a game of give and take. But with every step, you'll find everything lining up with just a little bit more and a little bit more until you're done. And that's about where we are now. So hope this helped, and congrats on your Hex Beam.
This was definitely a fun build. It took us about an hour because we were, you know, kind of having some fun out here too, doing things. And hopefully you will enjoy this show, and you will enjoy our other videos that we're going to be doing in the near future for products and so on. If you have some questions, feel free to contact Radiowavz at sales@radiowavz.com. That's RADIOWAVZ, and it should be down here, down towards the bottom of your screen. You'll see the contact information. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for listening, and you have a great day. 73.